Hey there, Damian David with Cornerstone Advisors, back again for another week in review. Thanks again for joining me. Headlines, followed by a quick interview with a couple of my colleagues, Kelly Zeiner and Lori Isaacson, discussing and talking about some of the challenges that they were able to overcome for a recent go-live that they supported through COVID-19 coronavirus. They had short time in changing it from on-site presence to a remote presence to make sure that they were able to pull it off. So, and then leaving you with a timely little song and some images from what's been happening over the course of the past week around coronavirus, COVID-19, and around the country. All right, let's jump into it. So, the whole reason why I started this about 8 weeks ago, was it 8 weeks ago now, was to kind of mimic John Krasinski's Some Good News network that he was putting out there to help people, give them something to be hopeful about, offer some good news in this time of coronavirus and COVID-19. It caught on like wildfire to the point where just this past week, ViacomCBS bought it from him for an undisclosed amount of money. I guess there was a big bid war on it, and ViacomCBS came out on top. So rumors have it it's millions of dollars. So I don't know. It was so much that John Krasinski had to put a public apology out there for his fans and explain himself. But the explanations are nice. I'll leave links to one of the news stories that covered it. It's a nice feel-good story and good for John. Wish him best of luck. If anybody's interested in buying this from us, give us a call. We'll take some bids. Until then, I'll continue to do this until COVID-19 and coronavirus is no more a thought in the industry. So here we go. The week of June 2nd, 2020. That obviously was the first headline. The second one, SpaceX Dragon Launch a success. This is an interesting one. Elon Musk was a private entity that was able to build a rocket space shuttle that they launched into outer space. They had on board Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley were the astronauts. They controlled the shuttle launch, and then also once they got through in the atmosphere and the boosters fell off, they took a nap and they woke up while they were docking onto the International Space Shuttle. So that's something that we haven't done since 2011, is launch a space shuttle up to that space station from U.S. soil. So kudos to them. Congratulations. That's very exciting news. Third headline, the response to COVID-19 has yet another challenge as protests throughout the country for the past 3-4 days and then over into the evening as well. National Foundation for Infectious Diseases and other experts are concerned that the protests may impact containment measures. We're going to monitor this week. It usually takes about 14-20 days for the coronavirus or COVID-19 to take hold once you're exposed. So I'll keep my eye on that and report back in a couple weeks' time, see if we notice any increases and if we can make the systematic tie to any of the protests that might have gone against social distancing suggestions. Okay, the next headline I took from CNN's opinion page. It asked a question here, and I'm going to provide the link. It's worth reading if you have a couple minutes. Will a COVID-19 vaccine signal an end to the anti-vaccine movement? Evidence of positive effects of Remdesivir continues to roll in through the third clinical trial. It's been so successful that Japan has already approved it and greenlighted it to be an effective treatment for COVID-19. So once we get through these final stages of clinical trial, we might expect that it will become a standard practice to prescribe it for COVID-19 patients in the U.S. as well. More to come. So this week marked the first human trial of potential antibody treatment for COVID-19 that was begun. Eli Lilly is the company organization that's involved with that. They're spearheading it. And the trials are happening in hospitals and organizations in the New York City area, the LA area, in Atlanta. So last week, all of those that operate in healthcare in the Meditech world, Muse, the International Inspire Conference, was canceled in Washington, D.C. There's no plans to rebook it for this year, but they are actively planning for their Executive Institute again in January, and then next year, 2021, the Denver conference too. So those are still in planning, and we'll find out more about that as the months go by. They're initiating a 100% refund for all participants and all exhibitors too, minus a small $25 processing fee. So I guess you don't have to go ask them for it. They're going to automatically do that for you. So be sure to look out for that and make sure you get your refunds. They are also going to be doing some interesting things remotely and via web and different educational and learning seminars, and there'll be opportunity to get some of the information and the content that you were going to seek at the conference itself. So stay tuned. Okay, that brings us to the statistics for COVID-19 this week. Again, I'm going to walk you through what we're up to, the totals for around the world as compared to what they were at this point last week. And then we're going to take a perspective, a view into where the numbers are at in the United States as well. Okay, so from the world, cases, COVID-19, 6.29 million this week, up from 5.5 million last week. Of that, 2.67 million have recovered, up from 2.27 million last week. And we've had 374,000 deaths in the world from COVID-19, up from 348,000 last week. In the United States, confirmed cases up to 1.84 million this week from 1.7 million last week. We have 407,000 recovered in the United States compared to 359,000 last week. And then in the United States, we're up to 106,000 deaths due to COVID-19, up from last week's total of 99,886. Okay, so again, thank you. We appreciate as a company all the efforts that you're continuing to do for your communities. Even as we open up and we start to get back to electives and we start to get back to some sort of normal as we getting past it, or we at least see a pivot or a turn from what we're dealing with in COVID-19 coronavirus. We can't let down now. It's very important that we see this through all the way, and we appreciate the efforts and the energies that you guys are exerting towards that. Keep it up. We've broken a lot of rules as we've gotten in and we've dealt with COVID-19 from an industry. One of them was the mindset that you couldn't do go lives or change systems without having shoulder to shoulder, at the elbow folks side by side with your clinicians and the other users of the system throughout your organizations. We proved that wrong a handful of times over the past couple months alone. Plans for implementation that we built strategies over months to prepare for on-site implementation, go-live supports. Within a matter of weeks, sometimes days, even hours, we've had to completely pivot to allow for that to happen remotely, just because of the circumstance of what we're dealing with a global pandemic. This week, I caught up with our own Lori Isaacson and Kelly Ziner. Was interested in a recent project that they had where they got one of our clients live in a remote fashion, and they were able to also help that client get one of their satellite facilities live on both the acute and ambulatory versions of their Meditech Expanse as well. Let's transition there now and hear what they overcame in the project. Hey, Lori. Hey, Kelly. Thanks for joining me. Hey, I heard that recently we had one of our clients go live in April. Last minute, we had to change direction of how we were supporting them. It had to be remote versus on-site because of the whole COVID-19 experience. Interested in hearing a little bit more about that. Kelly, let's start with you. Are there any significant differences in the ambulatory setting that required to take special measures for the go live, being in remote capacity, or was it more difficult to support remote than on-site?
Thanks, Damien. Well, with ambulatory, typically it's a little different than acute anyway, where acute, you have typically the one building and the one command center, and everyone's kind of in the same physical space. Whereas ambulatory, we're used to different clinics dispersed throughout the community anyway, in different physical locations. So in some capacity, we always have to have a remote solution because you don't have the core team members at each clinic going to be traveling to a command center for the meetings or the call-ins. So we always have to, in some way, have the remote. But typically, as the ambulatory lead, I would be on site providing that go-live support. So having to adapt because of the COVID-19 pandemic and not wanting to have that exposure, and the site also feeling the same way, not wanting to bring in outside resources, was different. So the biggest thing was being able to have a great organization kind of lay out this, what I like to call the tele support model. So they were kind of key in working with us to make virtual meetings effective and providing those daily huddles, we called them, in a remote capacity. utilizing Microsoft Teams and having, visual call-ins for those. Another really important piece for ambulatory, as it always is the super users. So although I wasn't able to come in from out of state, we throughout the project made sure that we had strong super users who were still going to be on site since they were, local staff. So that was key, is having those super users still present to be able to triage the calls and be confident in their abilities. But as being one of the more experienced leads who had gone through the go lives before, they were able to communicate any issues that they couldn't, support themselves or find resolutions for to me remotely through different means of technology. So I think having the technology available is another one of the most important pieces of this go live support. And then lastly, again, that communication. So not only did we have the daily huddles using the teams, we also had communication methods where we were able to report all of the issues through virtual command center, we called it. So I think the biggest part too is also the adjustment for people being able to accept the change. The remote was kind of, at first, they felt like it would be a big hurdle and kind of, disappointing that we weren't going to be able to be there on site. But once they were confident in the ability of us to be able to do this remotely through the technologies, it actually seemed to almost work out better than it would be if we were on site, because we had more offerings. We were available to be there all throughout the day. And the providers were actually able to have us remote into their computers with technology and help them troubleshoot right there rather than having to hunt someone down. So, Damien, one of the things Lori and I had talked about as we found out we were going to be doing this remotely is how to keep it as similar as possible to a regular go live support model. So typically, that would include setting up a command center and then providing support and then a way to report and track issues and do daily huddles. So pretty much everything that we did remotely did not change. So the whole structure of the go live was consistent with how Cornerstone delivers. The only piece that was missing was that on-site support, but we were able to provide just as great quality support through our remote technology. So I thought that was one of the main success factors, is keeping with that same go live structure in a remote capacity.
To kind of follow up with that, Kelly, you mentioned some technology, some of the logistics, some of the process, the mapping, how things worked and how people did it procedurally. Was that all worked out ahead of time, or was that kind of a last minute, we got to change direction and we got to get those technologies, we have to implement them? Give me a flavor for that.
Well, in this project specifically, we had done a remote support model for the implementation. So I had been working remotely since December. So we had that worked out on what technologies we were using, and the core team and the super users. I had done training for the go live remotely utilizing Microsoft Teams. So we had already planned that out. We did expect that I would be on site, but it was a quick adjustment to be able to utilize the technology we'd been using throughout the implementation for the go live.
Interesting. So you already had the foundation pretty much laid from previous interactions in the implementation cycle itself. All right, and Lori, what benefits are there in handling remote go lives that you've discovered throughout this whole process? What were some of the assumptions we had, limitations that we overcame?
Thanks, Damien. I want to start by just giving props to Kelly for the excellent job that she did setting up the go live remote support. She'd been working remotely, as she mentioned, with the client and established a trusting relationship. They had a lot of respect for her, and so that helped us really successfully set them up with remote support for go live. I would say that one benefit of doing a remote go live that we found is people's comfort level with that sort of communication. A lot of hospitals and IT departments and end users communicate via phone call to get support on a day-to-day basis from their help desk. So it's not unusual to ask them to pick up a phone to report any issues that they were having. So I think that made the transition to remote support a little bit easier. as Kelly mentioned too, we were able to support better, not being in the middle of the physical environment. Nobody had to come looking for us. It was much simpler to just pick up their phone. Many of the super users that were working with the end users were most comfortable with using text, something that we use every day in our lives. So they were able to text issues and text screenshots and communicate that way. And there were a lot of benefits to that. The asynchronous method of communication and texting allowed them to get what they needed to get documented for the issue, to know that they had reached out for help, but they didn't necessarily expect an immediate response. So it gave us time on the support side to look into the issue, to do some investigation, and to come up with either a solution or a plan to find resolution to the issue without the pressure of having to answer the questions immediately in the physical environment. So I think that I personally was surprised at how many of the super users used texting. I thought it was really a great way to communicate, and gave us all the information that we needed. Kelly's younger than me, so she probably just expected it all along. That worked out really well, though. I think that the assumption, maybe our assumption as well as our client's assumption, that not being physically present in the environment would diminish the confidence in our ability to help. And that did not prove true at all. I think that the plan that we put in place, the communication, as Kelly mentioned, checking in frequently and having the ability to, in real time, document issues and resolution was very helpful. And I believe that we quickly gained the confidence of our end users that we were there to help them, that we knew where to look, we knew what the answers were, and I think that that worked out really well. And again, as Kelly mentioned, the screen sharing to replace at the elbow support with at the monitor support went very smoothly. I didn't experience any end users having any discomfort with being supported that way. They found it to be very helpful. And physically, when you think about standing over somebody's shoulder, that's sometimes uncomfortable. And this way, we were there, we were looking at their screen exactly when they needed us to. They could easily show us what the issue was, and we could help them find what they were looking for, or refresh their memory about the workflow or what they needed to do in the system. So I think overall the remote support turned out really well. It was a perfect option at a time when we needed to get innovative about how we could continue to support our site and get them through their go live.
Well, hey, congratulations to both of you. Congratulations to the client. Obviously, you guys busted the myth that it can't be done remotely. I think you helped to redefine some of the rules around go live support. And hey, I would not be surprised if we learn some things that we're going to take into the future and just make those efficiencies and cost savings a little bit more while still maintaining the quality of the delivery of the support. So again, congratulations and kudos to both of you. Now, hot seat time. You guys ready? I'm going to start with you, Lori. What's the first thing that you're going to do once this coronavirus thing blows over?
Well, I would say the first thing I want to do is to set up travel arrangements to go see my kids. They live far away, and I need to fly to see them. So I think when I get that confidence back that travel is safe and I can get on a plane and go visit them, that'll be one of the first things. I look forward to spending time on the beach. Hopefully this summer we'll be in a position to get out there and meet up with friends and family at the beach. And mostly, Damien, what I really am looking forward to is hugging people. I am a hugger, and I really miss that contact when I get to see my friends and my family. So watch out, I'll be hugging people.
Well, safe future travels, enjoy the beach, and don't get yourself into trouble. Now, Kelly, what's been your favorite hobby since this all began and we all went into isolation?
Well, we live across from this little pond in my neighborhood. So it's there's actually quite a bit of fish in the pond. So believe it or not, I don't look like a fisherman, but my husband and I are bringing our daughter across the pond, and we've started fishing in the evenings. I usually just sit and kind of watch him, but he'll cast it in. So that's been kind of a different thing that I didn't think that I would enjoy. that we'll probably continue to do post-COVID. It's kind of relaxing and it's pretty out there.
Wow, very sporty. I love it. Well, hey, stay safe. Enjoy however you can this experience. Hopefully it will lift soon. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys all soon. All right.
Thanks, Damien.
Thank you. So thanks again to Lori Isaacson and Kelly Ziner for taking a moment to have that conversation with me. Again, we're breaking all kinds of myths, resetting all the rules in the game of healthcare and how we're handling certain things, especially around EHR implementations. We're learning a lot of new techniques and tricks, and we're able to fine-tune into the future, maybe steal from what we're learning through this pandemic experience to benefit future projects, even as the world starts to open up again. And so with that, I'll leave you with a song that I find to be extremely timely for the moment. I hope you have a wonderful week. Please enjoy yourself, stay safe, keep working hard for your communities. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Blackbirds singing in the dead of the night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. Know your life. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. Blackbirds singing in the dead of the night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. Know your life. You were only waiting for this moment to be free. You were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly. Blackbird fly. Lie on through the dark of night. Blackbirds singing in the dead of the night. And take these broken wings and learn to fly. Know your life. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. You are only waiting for this moment to arise.